Click live stream tab or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, WCEG network. I'm Celeste Giordano, your show host, along with Sarah Poe, our co-host. And we are talk today about building a legacy business for the next 2 hours. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG network. And last but not least, a disclaimer, the topics and opinions are those of the show host and guest and not WCEG. Thank you for your continued support. Well, good afternoon and happy Cinco de Mayo. Hey, Sarah, how are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to that margarita in a couple hours.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you on here today, and we are very honored and privileged and thankful for the WCEG network for hosting our first inaugural show here today of building a legacy business. And I'd like to talk a little bit about myself, that I am Celeste Giordano with CelesteGiordano.com. I'm a master sales strategist, a business mentor, and I work and help business entrepreneurs, direct sales teams, and entrepreneurs and corporations to exponentially increase sales and profit through lead generation, building relationships, and accountability. Sarah, would you do us a favor and tell us a little bit about yourself today, please?
Hi, I'm Sarah Poe with Poe's Accounting Services. We are a tax and accounting office. We provide bookkeeping, payroll, just help you keep you in line, because we take your mess and present it to the IRS, and we want it to be well done.
Well, good. Well, I'm excited for the next 2 hours, Sarah, that we're going to talk about building a legacy business. We're also going to talk about the COVID-19 and some of the things that are going on about taxes, SBA loans, and all of the other things. Would you just give us a quick rundown of some of the things that you're going to talk about a little bit later in the show?
So we're going to talk about financial statements and why they're so important. And if you didn't have any and you tried to apply for any of these loans in the past few weeks, you came to a screeching halt because you had no financials. They wouldn't work with you without financials. You got to have your tax returns done. Why that's so important. But the biggest thing is to work with financial institutions. You've got to have financial statements. Why bookkeeping, why accounting is so important to all of that, and to know your monthly numbers.
Very good. I appreciate that. Well, let's dive right in, Sarah, because we have a full schedule here tonight of things that we're going to work with these entrepreneurs, nonprofit organizations. So let's get right involved here. So building a legacy business, don't settle for the status quo when you were meant to leave a legacy. And today, you're going to learn the 3 C's of a legacy mind shift, the 4 steps of the legacy business mind shift, the legacy business lead system, and the best business operating strategies of a legacy business. And a legacy mind shift, you know, a lot of people talk about having an attitude adjustment or a mindset. But in order to have that mindset, you have to have a mind shift. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that. So let's go to the next one, please. And priority. We want to thank everybody that's here today because you made it a priority to be here. You know, the fact or condition of being regarded as more important, the right to take precedence before others, and something that is more important than other things and that needs to be done or dealt with is the definition of priority. And everybody on this call here today made it a priority to be here. You know, you may be a single mother, you may be a wife, you may have had children that you have to cook dinner for. You know, there's all kinds of obligations, but you made it a priority today to invest in yourself and be here. So therefore, we appreciate you. And most importantly, you're the true champions for being on this call here today to learn about building a legacy business. So the 3 C's of a legacy mind shift is confidence, control, and consistency. And so confidence is when your self-image aligns with your business image. People are buying you, not your product. So let's talk a little bit, Sarah, about confidence. You see, the me I see is the me I want to be. And yes, you can align your business with your life purpose. Who you are in your life is who you are in your business life. And that's a very powerful statement right there. I'm going to say it again. Who you are in your life is who you are in your business life. And when you look in the mirror, think about what you see. What do you see in terms of your values, your strengths, and how you're operating in your life? So, Sarah, when you look in a mirror, tell us, what do you see with your values?
Confidence, I see what is told to me, it stays in confidence, because people in my line of business hear things every day that it's very personal. You need to, what happens at Pose stays at Pose. Very trustworthy. I like to build relationships with people and my clients. I like for them to have confidence in me because of that. Those are the things that I see in my mirror.
Very good. So when a person looks in the mirror and for their values, is it exciting or is it scary? Because what you see is what a potential client or a current client, but the key is they see it magnified 10 times. So if they see somebody that isn't confident, it's magnified 10 times. So if I was coming to you for my business and my taxes and some things of this nature, you want to go to somebody who's very confident in what they do. So it's very important that you understand that your confidence level has to be confident in you first in order for anybody else to be confident in you. Because if you see someone who is unsure of themselves, that's exactly what they see. And if you see someone who is afraid of success, that's exactly what you're going to see. Let's go to the next one, please. See, the amount of control you have in your business affects your income and your happiness. See, you can control the number of conversations you have with potential clients. You can control how many networking events you're going to attend and the number of potential clients you follow up with, the kind of interactions you have, phone calls, emails, etc. So, Sarah, what kind of control do you have in your business as a CPA? What are some of the things that you control?
I can control my education, what I learn, what I don't learn. I can control the type of people I work with day in and day out. I can control my mentors. Those are the type of things in my business I can control.
Absolutely. So it's very important that we do take control of the number of conversations we have with potential clients, because the conversations we have with our clients or with potential clients is how you're going to learn about how we're going to have closing averages. So let's go to the next one, please. So the one thing that you can't control is that number at the end of the month. See, a potential client becomes a client through a real conversation. And I'm going to say that again. A potential client becomes a client through a real conversation, not through a Facebook message, not through Twitter, not through an email. We have to have a real conversation with people in order to get them to become a client. You see, consistency is the key. Go ahead. You want to say something, Sarah?
I want to say something about conversations and building relationships. During the past few weeks, one of the things people could do was fill out an SBA application at a bank. So many of these people that I dealt with trying to help them with that, they had no relationships with their bank. It became that much harder because they'd never built that relationship or had those conversations with the people at the bank. They always went through the drive-through. They never went inside and built those relationships. So this is one instance where a relationship would have made a huge difference for some of these people.
Absolutely, sir. I couldn't agree with you more. And as we go on through this conversation, we're going to talk about best business practices. And one of the things that I talk about is that relationship with the banker, because most people do that today. They go through the drive-through. They don't go in there. They don't meet the president or the vice president of the bank, or one of the ladies or the gentleman that can help you and introduce yourself to them. I make it a point every month to walk into the bank just so I can say hello to our banker. And they know who I am and I know who they are. And so that's so important, Sarah. And it also makes a big difference, I'm sure, with the COVID-19 for people that are going to banks and making and applying for these loans and things of this nature. And as you said, they don't have a relationship with the banker, so they're walking in there, just with no relationship whatsoever. I just can't even imagine that.
And then unfortunately, they couldn't walk into a bank. They had to talk to them over a phone because most banks aren't letting you come in.
Well, and that's true, because what they're doing is they're making appointments for you to come in. And so again, if that person knows you, they may put you right up at the front of the list, or they may just put you on an order, who knows? But again, the relationship is important.
Right.
So consistency is the key that holds everything together. If you're consistently taking the action, the money you're seeking is always going to be there. So, that's one of the things that I see a lot of times with clients and people that I have conversations with, is their lack of consistency in what they do in their day-to-day life, whether it be lack of consistency in going to networks, lack of consistency of having conversations, lack of consistency in follow-up. Consistency is a huge element as far as building value and evolving your business. All right, let's go to the next one, please. So you can consistently keep doing the same wrong thing over and over, and it's always going to be wrong. So why keep doing that? If you consistently follow the system every single day and week, you will reach your goals. It's impossible not to reach your goals because the system is proven. The 4 steps to a legacy mind shift is establish your goals, know your numbers, run the formula, and follow the system. So the next one is to establish your goals. You have to create 3 personal goals that get you to move. I'm sure we've all heard of setting 3 personal goals, setting 3 business goals, but the goals have to get you to move. It has to move the needle. So, think about what gets you to move personally. A lot of times it can be your spouse, your children, your family, but it has to get you to move. And then set 3 personal goals for the next 30 days and make sure they're specific. You also have to set 3 business goals and create your business goals specifically for your client's business. Set 3 business goals for the next 30 days. And again, a goal isn't a goal if you don't share it with somebody important in your life, whether it be your spouse, your partner, your business coach, your mentor, and it has to be written down. And a lot of times, back in the first many, many years ago when I started in direct sales, I always had my personal goals written down and I carried them in my purse every single day. And I would look at them because sometimes people are not used to creating habits. And people have goals, but they don't follow through and they don't check in on their goals on a day-to-day basis, a week-to-week basis, and a month-to-month basis.
And that's where a good Post-it note on your computer would be, right? Because you're seeing it every day, or on your mirror in the morning. It's got to be consistently where you see it every single day.
Absolutely. And, we have such technology today with smartphones, iPads, and things of this nature, your computers, where they have these different apps that you can put things in to remind you of things. And so it's very, very important that you're looking at those things on a day-to-day basis. Everybody can wish and dream, but it takes action to put anything in place. So to know your numbers create a legacy business, and every business has a magic number of leads. And then we're going to run the formula. So if you're a business entrepreneur with us here today and you've been in business, let's say for a year, you need to look at the last 6 months and how many conversations did you have with your potential clients? And 9 times out of 10, when I give this talk, most people cannot tell me the amount of conversations they had with potential clients last week, last month, let alone the last 6 months. So it's very important that you write down how many conversations you're having on a daily base, a weekly base, and a monthly base. So I have a desk pad. I'm old school, and it's a desk pad calendar. And I also have a journal and a day planner. And then I have my computer where I monitor those things. And so I put my goals down and the conversations that I have every single day on my desk pad, on my day planner, as well as in my computer, because I want to be able to know those numbers just like that, Sarah. It's so important. And then I want to know how many of those potential clients became actual clients in the last 6 months. Now you have 2 numbers, and those potential clients and actual clients, and you divide one number into the other, and that gives you a closing ratio. So Sarah, do you have a log system or anything where you're logging in the potential clients or clients that come into your business?
Well, see, one of the things that you taught me along the way was when somebody new comes in, or all my tax clients, how did you hear about us? So we keep track of it that way. You know, did you hear about us from a friend, or from neighborhood news, or from our flags, or from signs, or even from an instance like this, or some networking events? How did you hear about us? So we keep track of it that way. And then something else that we've learned to do along the way is part of our tax paperwork. We give them 3 referral coupons. So all they got to do is hand that to somebody. It's got their name on it. And so that helps us to keep track also of referrals coming through the door. But we do it different ways. So, but because of you, I've started to keep track of that many years ago.
And I appreciate that. I mean, we've been friends and been working together for over 7 years, Sarah. And the thing of it is that it just amazes me in my conversations with people that they don't know their numbers. They don't know the conversations that they've had with people. They don't know how many leads they had yesterday, let alone last week or last month. And they're not totaling those up because they'll never know their closing average until they focus on the leads. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. But I'm glad to see that you have a system and process in place, and it's huge. And it's easier to take things in bite-sized pieces than it is to wait and go back and have to look that up.
Yes.
And we live in a world of an IT world today with Salesforce and so many different constant contact that can keep everything in order for us. So follow the system. How many actual clients do you want to have at a given time? Now, this is a little something here. Let's just say that you're a business coach and that you are looking to have 10 actual clients. That's the magic number. So if your closing average is 1 out of 4, so for every 4 conversations you have, you're going to get a client, then your magic number is to have 10 actual clients. Your magic number is 40. I have to have 40 conversations in order to have 10 clients if my closing average is 1 out of 4. You know, I have a closing average of about 1 out of 2 most of the time. And the thing of it is, most people don't know what their closing average is because they don't track their leads, they don't track their conversations, and they're not following up to know their closing average. So now we're going to get into something that really excites me about building a legacy business, and that's about sales and leads. And we're going to go to the next part. And if you're watching with us here today, you know, I want you to look at this next slide and take a piece of paper out and write this down, because this is really the huge mind shift right here in building a legacy business, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a direct sales team, you're a corporation, you're a nonprofit wanting to grow nonprofit. Most people wake up every single day and they focus on money. And what they don't understand is money is the byproduct. So if you're looking at the slide right here, you know, Sarah, can you make any money without any leads?
No.
Can you make any money without any appointments?
No.
Can you make any money without a complimentary sales call or in-person meeting?
No.
Can you make any money without sales?
No, no.
So could you agree with me that most people, and you deal with business entrepreneurs and corporations as a CPA, they get up focusing on money. And I'm sure you do too, because you're a CPA. People are, I just want to know the bottom line. I want to know how much money. What they have to really focus on is the system and process that gets them to the money.
Correct.
And that is the leads. So where do we get leads from? And every organization, whether it be a nonprofit, a corporation, direct sales team, or an entrepreneur, is going to get leads from different areas. And we live in a world today that we can get leads from networking, from speaking, list building, referrals, cold calls, business groups, blogs or newsletters, magazines, sponsorships. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I didn't even put referrals isn't even in there. Referrals, that should have been, it is in there. Okay. So this is where our leads come from. When you have leads, the leads enable you to get an appointment. And an appointment is a date, time, and place. And you say, well, Celeste, that's pretty simple. Sarah, if I saw you in the grocery store and I said, hey, Sarah, I haven't seen you in a long, long time. I would love to get together and have coffee with you. And you say, yeah, that'd be great. And I say, okay, Sarah, I'll give you a call. Are we ever going to have that appointment?
Nope, it's not going to happen.
But if I beat you in the store and I say, Sarah, haven't seen you in a while. I'd love to get together with you. Are you available this Friday? Whatever this Friday, today is the 5th, yeah. This Friday, the 8th at 10 o'clock, and I'll meet you at the Starbucks. Now that's a date, time, and place. And I've noticed that a lot of people that I work with in the direct selling industry, that they don't realize a date, time, and place, and then to reconfirm it. They just say, I'll call you, I'll send you an email. And then next thing you know, what happens with that? They don't, the phone call goes into voicemail, the text gets ignored, the email gets ignored, instead of taking it right then and there, and especially if you're a networking event. Sarah, let's get our phones out. Let's go ahead and get it on the calendar. Let's get a date, time, and place. And then you're going to confirm that. So your leads create your appointments. Your appointments create a complimentary sales call or in-person meeting. And so how many in-person meetings are you having, or how many phone calls are you having and conversations with people a day? We recommend 3 a day, 15 a week, and 60 a month. Now, everybody's number is going to be different. If you have 3 calls a day and you're working 5 days a week, that's 15 calls a month. And if you have a closing average that's, say, 1 out of 3, and I had 15 complimentary calls or in-person meetings, how many should I close? 4 or 5, if I'm 1 out of 3. But we have to track that. It amazes me that I ask somebody, how many calls did you have last week? Well, I don't know. How many leads did you get last week? I don't know. I got a lot of business cards. Collecting business cards and not following up with these people is just a waste of time. So from a complimentary sales call, those numbers right there between the leads, the appointments, and the complimentary sales calls will get you a sale. And how many people get up every single day and believe that they're going to make at least 1 sale a day? Most people should plan on 3, 5. They need to think big, act big, and get big. But if you don't get up every day and believe that you're going to make a sale today, I'll show you somebody that will never make a sale. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe you're going to make a sale today. And you have to do it with kindness and love and genuinely caring for people. And then the bottom line will give you the money. Now, a lot of the clients that I work with, Sarah, and I know that you work with people in the tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, are between 5 and 10, and my high-level clients are about $25,000 a month of income. So everybody has a different lead goal. So as an example here, we use 400 leads a month, comes down to 100 a week, and that's 20 a day. And a lot of people say, well, that's a lot of leads. Well, if you're a small business or you're just starting out, that may be a high lead for you. So you have to work what your magic number is. But 100 leads a week, that's 20 a day. When you have networking, you have speaking, you have list building, you have an offer on the internet, you have referrals, you have social media. I wake up every single day, and between LinkedIn and the internet and the website, I have probably in excess of 10 leads a day to call just off of that. People that have reached out through conversations. So how are we tracking that, and what systems and processes do you have set up to create lead generation and tracking it? And then the complimentary calls, 15 a week, 30 biweekly, and 60 a month. Those numbers and your closing average is going to give you the amount of money that you want to make every single month. But the point is, don't get up every single day focused on money. Focus on building relationships in your lead generation toolbox, because those relationships will get you the appointments, the sales calls, the sales, and the money. Any comment?
I want to talk about relationships again. This is huge, because during this COVID-19 time, you've had people who have their business is completely stopped, right? So I have one client who walks dogs, right? A dog walking business. Most of her people didn't continue with the business during that time because they were home, right? Now, she had some very loyal clients that said, hey, I know that you need to make some income too. I would appreciate if y'all still came and took care of my dogs during this time, even though they were going to be home that whole time. But it's all because of that relationship that they built. And that's huge in this time when you need to bring in income to stay in business. Relationship building is huge.
Absolutely. In the conversations that I've had for the last couple of months with the COVID-19, again, people that had live events and networking events, they went away. And most of them went to Zoom or online events. I mean, in the last 2 months, I have done more online events of building a legacy business than I ever have done before. I mean, a lot of good has come out of this for business entrepreneurs to reinvent themselves and rebrand themselves. And you're going to see a lot of businesses do that because of this, because we can do business in different ways. And we do have to build those relationships with the people that we know and people that we want to know. And you see this as often as I do, Sarah, especially in the networking arena, where people, they meet you and the first thing they want to do is just try to sell you their product or service without even building a relationship. I mean, I get a lot of sometimes on LinkedIn that you get all these emails or messages where people, they want to introduce themselves, and the first opening sentence or two is introducing themselves, and then bam, they're right into selling their product. And I just go delete, 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 unless they have something that has to do with building a relationship. And then I'll read the entire thing and see if it's a good fit or if I want to have a conversation with them. But people don't understand that you have to make a friend first with these people, and you genuinely have to care about people, and it's not about you. I mean, we've been in this arena, whether it be for-profit or nonprofit, Sarah, where we have seen people that all they care about is focusing on themselves, and it's not about you. And people need to understand that people don't care how much you know, do they know how much you care. And the sooner you start caring more about that other person, the sooner you're going to have a relationship and a potential client or a client. True or false?
True. You have to listen to what they have to say. You have to help them solve their problems by listening to them.
Absolutely. You have to get to their pain point. You have this, you are the solution, and your conversation. The other thing is like building a conversation with potential clients, or meeting somebody in a networking event or something, that you're having a conversation. The conversation isn't about me telling you about me. When I go to a networking event and I'm meeting people, it's all about getting that person to talk about themselves. I'm going to ask them questions about them. Hey, Sarah, tell me about you. What do you do? Tell me about your family. I'm never going to start talking about myself. And you know what happens almost 9 times out of 10, Sarah, is after a while they say, Celeste, all I've done is talk about me. Why don't you tell me about you? Now, is it better for somebody to ask me to tell them about me, or for me to want to boast myself to them?
It's always better if they ask.
It's always better if they ask. And so if you're genuinely interested in making friends with people, people love to hear their name, and they love to talk about themselves. And the ideal client, would eventually want to know about you. The other thing is that in building relationships right there, people like to be surrounded by successful people. And, you have to control the conversations that you're having with people. A lot of times I have talked to somebody, I say, how's things going? Oh, it's really bad. Oh, I don't have any clients, or, it's just negative after negative after negative. And I'm thinking, why in the world would you want to talk like that at a networking event or to people? Because people like to surround themselves with successful people. The other thing is, when you're going to networking events, do your homework. What you want to do is look at the people that are going to be there that have registered. Google them, look them up on LinkedIn, check their background out with what they do, and then decide who you want to go have a conversation with that event. I do my homework, and my goal is at least 3 to 4 people that I want to personally introduce myself to, and I want to know about them because I've already researched them and I know about them, and I want to get to know them on a different level. I don't want to meet every Tom, Dick, and Harry at a networking event, and I appreciate them, but I'm going to go 3 or 4 people at a time that I'm going to zero in on, that I want to build a relationship with. Any suggestions that you have on what you do, Sarah?
Well, you taught me that a long time ago. So my goal is always to get to know 3 people at any networking event I go to. I don't need to know any more. I need to walk out of there having a good conversation with 3 people and having 3 additional meetings already set up once I leave there with those 3 people. Now you may walk up to a person and just not have a good fit, or just don't feel that something's right, so you move on. But I like to come away from any networking event with 3 people that I can build a relationship with. And you taught me that many years ago. So that's what I've always done since then.
Absolutely. And, I recommend also that when you go to a networking event, that you have an email that you set up. And I usually have a standard email that you just fill in the blanks right there where, hi, Sarah, it was nice to meet you at XYZ networking event. It was a pleasure getting to know you. I look forward to us having coffee this Friday at Starbucks. Just a follow up, because in that email, what does that email do? That email has your email address, it has your phone number, it has your social media links on it, more than likely. So it allows them that same opportunity to get to know you even a little bit better, because you just sent them an email that has all that information that they can research about you.
Yep.
As well.
It's something else that I've noticed, that like when you go to a networking event and you're all at a round table, those are not the people that I'm getting to meet during that event, because I'm going to spend a certain amount of time with all those people at that round table and introduce myself and have each one of them talk about themselves. It's amazing to me that, I go in there, I introduce myself, and I say, can each person tell me a little bit about yourself? Because you get to know just a little bit about that person, and you make them feel welcome. It could be a person who's never been to one of these events, and now you have just taken the ability for them to feel more comfortable at that event.
Absolutely, Sarah. The other thing is we have a lot of people. We have introverts that go to networking. We have extroverts that go to networking. We have everybody has those events where they have that 1 or 2 person that wants to be the center of attention. And again, my idea is I'm sitting at that round table, but I want to get up and I want to mingle and meet other people and introduce, and I want them to talk about themselves. And so I want to go around and make sure that 3 or 4 people that I've introduced myself to, and I've had them tell me everything about themselves and their business. And the last thing I say is, Sarah, how can I help and serve you? And that's the other thing. I spent 36 years in direct sales, and I've been in sales now for 42 years. And the one thing that I really, really learned is, as I said, people don't care how much you know. Do they know how much you care? And people like to know that you care about them. And that is so important, that you care about them. Anything else you'd like to add to this, Sarah, before we move on?
No, that's good.
You know, I think the one other thing I would like to say is sponsorships and speaking. You know, the fastest path to speaking, fastest path to cash is speaking. And so it is important that you do some speaking engagements, and you also do some sponsorships. You know, one of the best ways to get your name out there is to sponsor events. You know, whether it be a networking event, even though we've gone to online and Zoom, there's still a lot of networking events that are paid networking events. You know, I belong to several networking events that I have paid memberships, and I pay monthly to attend these events. But even though we are virtual right now, you can pay for sponsorship. You know, and a good networking group that's solid, that's been around, that is doing a virtual event right now. You know, be a sponsor in there, because what they're going to do, they're going to, if it's a good networking group, they're going to sponsor you through their social media. If you see a social media site of a networking group and all they're doing is talking about themselves, I have the saying, run, Forrest, run, because networking is about you, not about them. And so how can you help them? So be a sponsor. I'm sponsoring a couple of virtual events myself this month. And that's important to do, because they're gonna sit there and promote their event. They're gonna promote their sponsors. I'm a guest speaker in several events this month. And guess what? They're gonna promote me. And that's a positive thing. But it's a win-win deal, because I'm also going to promote them. And that's another thing that I want to talk about as a business entrepreneur is, if you're going to accept to be a speaker or to be a sponsor, it's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. So you have a moral obligation as a speaker or as a sponsor to help promote that event that you are either speaking at or you're sponsoring at. It's not up to that person hosting that event that they do all the promotion. It's a win-win deal. So make sure that you, if you are speaking, if you are sponsoring, that you do your due diligence and you do promote them, because that's a win for you as well as for the people that you're speaking at. And also you want to make sure that you get invited back next time. So make sure you do a good job. And one of the things that they're going to look at is, well, I'd like to have them back, but you know what? They never shared any of our posts about the event, or they never shared anything concerning inviting people. So those are some of the things that people are going to look at. So it's important to make it a win-win deal. The other thing that I was talking about was social media, you know, and that is your brand. We talked about confidence earlier. You know, it's very important in your social media that you have some structure. If you want to get lead generation, you want people to get engaged. You also have to do some sponsorships there. And again, now that we're not in public and we're not meeting people in person, you know, look at a budget, and it can be a small budget. You can sponsor things for as little as $5, as much as you want, but do some promotion for your social media and make sure that you have consistency going across all your social media links, as far as your bios, your pictures, and things of this nature. And they need to be professional. You know, Sarah, is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, and I'm guilty of not having my professional shot updated in the past 2 years, because you should have that done on a yearly basis, right? Because you change, you lose weight, you gain weight, you change your hair, you do all different things. You may wear glasses, you may wear contacts, but I would suggest that you have that updated on a yearly basis. And I'm guilty of not doing that. So that is one of my goals to get done as soon as we get back out there in the world.
Absolutely. Well, you do a good job. That's for sure, Sarah. Okay, I'm ready to go on to the next one. And if there's any questions, we want you to put it in the chat right there, and we'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. Also, you can always email me at celeste@celestegiordano.com. And Sarah, how can they reach you?
You can reach me at spocpas.com.
All right. So let's go on into the 4 issues of slowing revenue growth. So some of the issues of slowing your revenue growth are time management, getting prospects to take action, no systematic selling process, and lack of referrals. And I know the first one, time management, is just people cringe with the time management. And, probably some of the things that I see a lot of times is people don't know how to manage their time and they get overwhelmed.
How are people managing their time working virtually? How's that going? I would like to know.
I think it's going really well. I think in the beginning, people were very relaxed and they were not structured, Sarah. But I think they had to go through the lay of the land right there, and they become structured. People that have business coaches and mentors, a business coach and a mentor isn't going to let somebody lay slack or not follow through and have structure, because there's accountability. My clients have a call with me every single week, and you can call me, I used to be called like a renegade in the coaching industry, because the coaching industry only wanted to give you maybe 2 calls a month. And I would give you 4 calls a month, and that's 1 call a week. And the reason for that is that you can have a bad day and you can have a bad week, but you will never have bad week back to back, because you're being held accountable on a weekly basis. And then you can always catch things on a weekly basis and to make self-corrections for the following week. So at the end of the month, you can have a bad day and you can have a bad week, but you'll never, ever, ever have a bad month if you invest in yourself and a business coach or a mentor. So, a lot of my people have been spending a lot of their time in their time management. This has been a great time for them working on their list generation. Everybody has a list, most people do, that are successful, and going through that list, updating that list, coding that list. It may be, we have cold leads, warm leads, hot leads. So it may be coded 1, 2, 3. Maybe they haven't sent an email out to these people in a long time. So a lot of people have been going through their list, updating their list, having phone calls. And what I have challenged a lot of my clients in the last 2 months is to come out of their comfort zone, and by not using the phone and using Zoom. I have some clients that are very, very good at using Zoom. They're very, very well and very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Photogenic and video, whatever. They're good at that. I mean, we've got some excellent ones in the Silver Council group that are excellent at it. But then we have some that have never done it before. So a lot of people have taken their in-person meetings, their coffee meetings, and turned them into Zoom meetings. I've even challenged a lot of the clients to have, an evening, 3 times a week or once a week, or some of them are doing it 30 days, where they're having everybody join them on a Zoom call for 30 minutes. Bring your favorite beverage or whatever, and let's just have a chat and get to know people. What that did is rebuild a lot of relationships. It kindled, and it wasn't about talking business. It wasn't about the client selling anything. It was just building relationships and letting people know that you care. So, the time management, I think, has been good for people that have structure, and the people that don't have the time management, I recommend that they need to get a journal or a day planner. They need, and they need to use their phone if they want to. The young millennials prefer everything on the phone. I'm old school and I like to write everything down, and I still have it on my phone. But, and to have a schedule. One of the first things that I do with my clients, Sarah, is I give them a sheet, and it's a weekly time sheet. Goes from, the sheet from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. And so one of the first things that I have them do for time management is I want you to put all of your spiritual things, it's listed Monday through Sunday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. List all your spiritual activities first in this sheet. Okay, and then after you get your Bible studies, your church activities, your prayer time, whatever it is on there, then the second thing is you're going to log your family time. That may be dinner time with the family. It may be children's sports activities, which we haven't had that in the COVID-19. It might be a date night with your husband or your spouse. It may be you have planned time off, that you're taking a long weekend for family vacation. It may be that you need to go visit a family member. You have a family member in the hospital or assisted living, and you logged all that stuff in. So we have our spiritual stuff in line first, and we have our family in line. Then the next thing is you're going to put your clients. If you have clients, you're going to put all your client meetings in there, and then you're going to put in your networking events, and then it starts to fill up. And so it makes it really easy when you have that sheet and when you're making phone calls and you're doing follow-up, that you know what you have available. I mean, how many times do you get a phone call or you talk to somebody and they say, sir, I made an appointment with you, but I have to cancel or whatever. And they either tell you they double booked or they forgot, they didn't write it down or something. And this will get you into good time management skills. And a lot of times that we talk about that. And so I'm very proud that a lot of the Silver Council members, we don't have a time management problem in our group, Sarah. I mean, everybody is pretty much on point with keeping track of their schedules and their times and making sure that their priorities are straight with their spiritual life, their family, and then their careers, because your career is always going to be here. And you have to put your spiritual life first, then your family and friends, and then your career. Number 2 is getting prospects to take action. That is a couple of things. Getting prospects to take action. That may be, let's just say that we're having a conversation with somebody, and a lot of times you have different ways of people that do things and getting people to take action, whether it be a sales call. There's a way that you control your sales conversation that leads up to asking questions of what I call of overcoming objections before they become an objection in your sales conversation. I mean, there's a whole workshop that I do on inviting objections out in your sales conversation so they don't become your objection in the end. And getting prospects to take action, you have to invite objections out and whatever it is that you're wanting them to do. So if I don't know what that would look like as a CPA and your clients, I'm sure you need to get prospects to take action, whether it be to give you the proper documentation, to give you their numbers or bank statements, whatever it is, it has to come down to how do you get them to take that action? So how do you get your clients to take action?
Well, a lot of times they need that information 3 days ago. So you say, look, I can't help you at all until I have these things. And then once you get those things, you have to produce what they're looking for. Let's just say they've got a letter from the IRS. There's things that you need from them before you can even begin that, right? So you have to be able to provide them with a list of what you're looking for, whether it be a power of attorney or documentation or those type of things, so you can call the IRS and take care of those problems. But you've got to inform them up front, good communication, and so that they've got that stuff for you when you're ready. Unfortunately, a few people came out of the woodwork who haven't filed taxes in 3 to 5 years when all this happened. And they couldn't get their stimulus until they had done that. Well, some people, their information came in timely and we got their information back to them timely. And some of those people have actually gotten their stimulus check now. Some people are still working on giving me that information. Because the reason why they didn't do this in the first place is because it was a lot of work to begin with. So now you're looking for 3 to 5 years worth of tax information and they're freaking out, and you have to calm their fears and keep them motivated.
Well, and we're going to talk about that, I think, in just a minute about what you just said, Sarah, about the things that they need to take action on. You can get people to take action, and I don't know the saying word for word, but it's easier to get people to do things with kindness, sincerity. And there was the old saying, something you could do something with honey more than you could something else.
Yes.
And, and people like to be treated with respect. They don't like to be talked down to. And when they know that you genuinely care for them, people will do whatever they have to do, in my opinion. I don't really have a problem getting people, prospects, to take to take actions, because there's one thing about me, Sarah. I say I have the 4 F's. I'm frank, fair, firm, and fun. And what I mean by that is I'm very frank. I tell it like it is. There's no gray area or fringe area, so I'm frank and I'm fair. And I'm always going to be fair and give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm firm that I believe in systems and processes. And, there are exceptions to the rules, but they're not the norm. And then most importantly, you have to have fun every single day. And people, when you want people to do things, they know your personality. When I'm dealing with people, they know that I'm going to tell it like it is. I'm not going to lie to them. I'm going to tell it to them just like it is. And I am going to be very firm in the system and process. And so I don't have to ask for it because they know I expect that of them. But I expect that out of them because I truly care to help and serve them. And I can't help and serve them if they don't take the action that I need them to take. Okay. No systematic selling process. That's a whole another thing in itself. A lot of people don't have a systematic selling process. They don't know how to invite objections out. They don't know how to set up a plan of action that takes a person from getting to know them and building that relationship and carrying on that process of asking for the order. And, you can have a sales conversation where you can ask for the order without being salesy, but you have to know how to have that sales conversation with them. And it is a systematic process that you do. And then the last thing is lack of referrals. It's a matter of a habit of asking people for referrals. And you and I've had this conversation numerous times, is most people don't get referrals because they never ask for referrals. If you get in the habit of asking for referrals up front, you will get referrals.
And that was a very hard thing for me to do. It was something that I had to get over being embarrassed to ask for referrals. And part of the tax paperwork with having that in there, printing that out, handing it to them and asking them for that has helped a lot. But you have to get over that embarrassment of asking for something for yourself. And that was something I had to overcome.
Well, and I don't think you should be embarrassed, because that's good business. It's good business practice, and asking for referrals. So when I was in the direct selling field, Sarah, and I'm talking right now for all of you that are in the direct sales, and even as a business entrepreneur. In the direct selling industry, we do a presentation, and the only reason you do a presentation is to sell it. True or false? Yes.
Sure.
Okay. So the worst case scenario is your goal is to sell that presentation, and hopefully you sell it. If you don't sell it, then the next goal is to make sure you walk away with a referral that replaces that presentation. And if you make that mind shift that every time you have a conversation with somebody, your goal is to eventually sell that person to become a potential client. And if you don't sell that person, then it is to get a referral. Sarah, who do you know that I don't know that would benefit from a service that I provide? And it's always good to have a referral program in place when you ask for referrals. So, like for your clients that you have a separate referral program in place for them. And maybe it could be all kinds of things. I mean, you can give discounts, you can give rewards, there's all kinds of things that you can do. But in order to get a referral, people would like to expect something in return to give a referral. And today, it's important that we treat people with generosity and love. And people want to make sure they know you and that you are who you are before they give a name out. So if they like the way you start your relationship with them, and in the middle of that relationship and in the end of that relationship, if that relationship is consistent, one of the 3 C's, and you're not salesy, you're not pushy, it's not all about you, that you generally, when you're having a conversation, they see it consistently that you are caring about somebody else, those people are more than willing to give you a referral because they know you're here to serve. It's those people that all they want to do is poke their chest out and bang on it and talk about how great they are. Nobody wants to give a referral for that. People like to give referrals to people who genuinely care, and you see that consistently across the board. And it's just a matter of getting in the habit of doing it. People are not in the habit of asking for referrals. And it's not that bad. It's almost like the fear of speaking, Sarah. Everybody's afraid to speak. And the best way to get over that fear of speaking is to speak, to get out there and speak. I have never done a public Zoom thing. I don't mind saying this. I've never done a public Zoom until COVID-19. And then I can't tell you how many I've done in the last 2 months. And I was scared to death. I came all the way up from Atlanta to Cincinnati to speak at a lunch and learn in the middle of March. And I got up here the day before when everything got shut down. And they said, oh, well, we're going to turn this to Zoom. It's like, what? But that's okay. You just jump right in. And, before long, practice makes perfect. Same thing is getting in the habit of every time you're having a conversation is to ask for referrals in a gentle, loving way and to have a referral program in place. A lot of times, and to give people something nice, when they send a referral. It's very important that if you do get a referral, make sure you send a thank you. The other thing on referrals is there's a proper way to introduce people. Not just say, Sarah, I'd like to introduce you to Mary Smith and Mary Smith does this, this, this. No, do a proper email introduction. And you write the email to Mary Smith and you include, let's say, me in that email. And then you say, hi, ladies, Mary, I'd like to introduce you to Celeste Giordano. She is blah, 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 blah. And Celeste, Mary does this, this, this. And I thought that you both would be a good fit to have a conversation to get to know one another, or that you can help one another. And then that referral is not a cold referral anymore. It's a warm referral because you sent it in an email. It made me feel good. It made her feel good. And I had an email like that today with somebody that called me. And so they said, Celeste, I'm going to do an email and introduce you to this lady. And it was somebody that called me and wants me to speak. And I'm going to speak at the end of this month on a webinar. And they wanted to use some of my blogs for some of their series. It's about women in sales. And again, you just never know where it's going to come from. And this lady, I know her from a sales background, and so for a company that her and I share some stuff with. And she knew exactly how to do this. And she sent that email and did an email introduction. So that's another way that you can do is to get people to say, Celeste, would you mind introducing me to Mary through an email and copy me? And, and that way it's very easy to respond and it's no longer a cold thing and it's a warm referral.
Yes.
All right, let's go on to the 4 keys of legacy sales. Tone mastery, invite objections, key commitments, and complimentary sales calls. Tone mastery is this whole segment right here, these 4 keys, is a workshop in itself right there. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so it's very important that when we're talking to people, that we talk to people genuinely where we come across where we love and care and we serve them. And that's important. So we don't want to talk to people where we're talking down to them, that where we think that we're better than them. And we all have experienced this at some point or at some time. So tone mastery is important of how you speak with people. You speak kindness, you speak with collaborations, you speak with camaraderie. I can just remember hearing this about 3.5 years ago, especially with women, Sarah, you and I have dealt with a lot of women, and we do see it in with men as well, is we can be in a business meeting with men and women, and I don't see competition, I see collaboration. And that's what it's all about, is collaboration and camaraderie. And it's about how you talk to people, how you support people, and how you serve people. And I'm sure, Sarah, in talking with people, with your clients, whether it be millennials, baby boomers, Generation X's, or, all the different levels, you have to talk to them in different ways as well.
Oh, you have to communicate with them in different ways. Yes,
Absolutely. Everybody communicates in a different way. And I've dealt with this with a lot of clients in the direct selling industry, that the millennials, you can call to the cows come home and you can send an email to the cows come home, but they just want you to text them and they're going to respond by text.
That's right.
They're not going to answer that phone. They're not going to send that email, and they don't want to read anything long. So, that's really important. Invite objections. A lot of people, business entrepreneurs, and I see people that are new as a business entrepreneur and people that have been around for a while, that they're afraid to invite objections because they're afraid of the word no. And the word no, N-O, means no, K-N-O-W. I need to know more information about what you're offering before I can make an intelligent decision. So when you're inviting objections, you want to have a sales conversation where you're talking with them, and then you're inviting objections out that get the customer to think, decide, and respond. Because they won't make a decision till they think about it, and they have to decide, and they have to respond. And if we never ask questions in your sales conversation, and then in the end, you're going to ask them to buy your service or product, the answer is always going to be no, because they never thought about your product. They never had to make a decision about your product. And then you want them to respond, and the only response they know is no. And people like to make sure that they're making intelligent decisions when they're making a sale, because they always have this inferiority complex that they want to make sure they made a good decision. So inviting objections, and that's a whole workshop in itself. Like I said, there's 4 keys to legacy sales. Inviting objections out in your conversation. And when you're having conversations, what is the conversation that you want to accomplish? Are you having a conversation to build a relationship? Are you in this relationship with them, and you're having this conversation because you want to take them to the next level of being a client? And so there's got to be some wording and structure in inviting objections out. Some of the objections, if you're a woman, they're going to say, I have to talk to my husband, or I have to think about it. So you have to invite objections out that get them to think about making decisions on their own. A lot of women today make almost all the financial decisions. And so you have to make sure that you build their confidence up, that they feel good about making an intelligent decision, investing in your product or service. If they have a husband objection, if you think that they're the type that they're going to give you a husband objection, I always bring that objection out regardless if I think it or not, is you ask them, what kind of, I always say something along the lines like this, does your husband cut his own yard? And they'll say, well, yeah, my husband, he does. What kind of lawnmower does he have? And most of the time, oh, he has a John Deere. Well, you know how much a John Deere lawnmower is? Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, your husband has one. Exactly.
We've got several, yeah.
And do you think that he asked her if he could go buy that John Deere lawnmower or tractor? No, he just did that. And when you make women just have a tendency to be afraid. And you have to build their confidence up that they have the right, and they are smart, and they are making a good decision. So you have to build that up in them. Key commitments is another thing in business where we are getting people to commit to do business with you, or getting them to commit to an objection you just overcome. And a key commitment is where you commit and you recommit. Most people will ask 1 or 2 commitment questions, but they never recommit them. So if I ask Sarah a recommitted question, if I asked Sarah, Sarah, would spending an additional, $500 a month change your lifestyle or take food off your table or anything? And Sarah says no. Then I say, so in other words, Sarah, what you're telling me is that spending an additional $500 investing in yourself so you can make 10 times that much money would not change your lifestyle in any way. And she says no. So that's a commitment and a recommitment. So you want to make sure that you recommit in your commitments, because then people don't like to necessarily lie to you intentionally. But if you just ask them a commitment question, they will change that, and you'll say, well, they lied to me. They committed, but then they didn't make the decision to purchase. That's because you didn't recommit them. You commit and you recommit. And then the last thing is complimentary sales calls. Again, you want to make sure that you are building a relationship with these people and you're having complimentary sales calls. And sometimes, you have cold, warm, and hot leads. And sometimes you're going to ask for the sale in that complimentary sales calls. And maybe it's just going to be that you're just going to talk a little bit about yourself and your business and what you do. And it may not be the time to ask for that order. It may be that you need to ask for that order in person or at another time. You know your systems and processes. So anyways.
And something else those are good for is to see if you are a good fit for one another, because you're not a good fit with everybody. That's one of the reasons why I do it, is because I've got to understand that they're going to understand what I have to say. They're going to appreciate what I have to say, and they're going to listen to what I have to say. And you can usually tell that during that complimentary sales call.
Absolutely, Sarah. So you definitely want to build that relationship and be a good fit. There are people out there that would take your money and take your business. And one thing I can always say about myself, and this, Sarah, and I know this about you, is I'm not going to do business with anybody, number one, that I wouldn't consider them to be a friend, and I wouldn't sit down and have a meal with them. And I truly believe that I can help them. And if I can't help them, I'm going to connect them to somebody that can.
Absolutely. Because sometimes I may not have the right knowledge that they need for their problem or their issue. And then I can connect them to the right person.
Exactly. So let's go on to the best business operating strategies. Some professional services. And you and I were talking about this today, and you and I have talked about this for 7 years. It's never changed. And it's been my philosophy, my whole 42 years in direct sales. Have that relationship with that accountant, CPA, that attorney, that banker, that financial advisor, that insurance agent, a social media manager if you're a business entrepreneur, or a corporation, and the VA online business manager or a business coach. As an accountant or a CPA, one of the first things that I do with my clients and in the conversations of getting to know them is I ask them, do you have a relationship with an accountant or CPA where you're getting a quarterly or a monthly or, profit and loss statement? You got to know where your money's coming in and your money's going out. And also you want to have that relationship with the end of the year when it comes time for your taxes. If you're getting that monthly P&L statement or quarterly P&L statement, when it comes time to do those taxes, is that tax thing, number one, they're going to do yours first. And number two, is it going to be easier and less expensive tax return because you invested monthly or more, Sarah? So give us your take on that.
Well, I will say this. I have my monthly clients, right? And I'm doing their books all year. So when it does come to tax time, I don't have any questions. We've answered those questions every month or every quarter while we're doing their bookkeeping, their payroll, that sort of thing. So their tax returns are much easier to do. It's easy. I've done them. It's completed. Then they come in, they bring their personal stuff, and we do it in one visit, and it's all said and done. And I will say during this COVID-19 stuff, I had many, many phone calls with my tax clients or my small businesses trying to make sure that they were doing the proper stuff, that they were applying for these PPP loans, or the 10K or whatever it was, that they had the correct information. I had people that I see once a year had enough confidence that they could call me and ask me those questions, that I would help them through this process. And now anytime anybody comes in, we do their 19 taxes. We look at last year, we look at this year, and we see which is the best tax return to make sure you get your rebate, right? Because Absolutely. You could be over this year, you could have been over last year, and you may not get the same amount of money. So I go that extra mile for all my clients And they, during that time, had the confidence to call me and let me help them out through that. I actually helped several people that were getting ready to come on board, but all this happened and they lost all their business. I called to make sure that they could get unemployment, what they needed to do for that. Because if I can help them now, in 6-8 months, they may come back to what we originally were going to do.
And they will come back. We're going to get back to normal, Sarah, that's for sure. But, you know, as a business entrepreneur, direct sales team, corporation, you know, we have to have an accountant or CPA, and you need to have a relationship with them. And, you know, you need to do it monthly or quarterly, but just don't not know what's going on a day-to-day basis, month to month, of what's going on with your business. An attorney, guess what? You're going to need an attorney sooner or later. Whether you are an entrepreneur with a sole proprietor, you're an LLC, or you're a corporation, you know, you need to have a relationship with an attorney because you're going to need one at some point or sometime. You're going to get sued or something's going to happen that you're going to have to reach out to an attorney. And is it better to have a relationship with an attorney now as opposed to have to go to the and go Google who's a great attorney in your area, and you have no relationship and they don't know you at all. And 42 years in direct sales, probably 36 of those years, I've always had an attorney and I've always had a CPA. But my CPA is almost 80 years of age, and he has been doing our taxes for 36 years or longer. I mean, just have a relationship with them. And you need to have a relationship with an attorney. You know, the banker thing, Sarah, we talked about that earlier. You know, again, you have to have that relationship with that banker. You know, I think of our friend Lynn Chapman with Renaissance Bank. You know, you can't even walk into a bank, you know, for the last couple of months. And in states right now, you can't even go in without an appointment. You want to know and have a relationship with a banker, and especially with accountant or CPA, because they can help you with anything that you need to have done with that. A financial advisor, I don't care if you have $100 or you have $1 million, you need to have a financial advisor that can help advise you and plan for the future and to help monitor where you can put your money. And again, it's good to make sure that all these people intertwine with each other and that they know of each other and they respect that you have these relationships.
I used to ask all my clients, do you have a financial advisor? And if something comes up during a review of the taxes or review of their financials, can you give them permission to speak to me? So we can determine what's the best route for your retirement or the best amount of money to put into a SEP or those type of things. Or let's just say you got a huge inheritance, so that we do different things the correct way, that you're paying the least amount of taxes possible. But if the two of us can speak, we can do that together.
Absolutely. You know, and as an insurance agent, you know, do you have the proper insurance for your business or for your nonprofit? You know, a lot of times people don't realize you need to have business insurance for a nonprofit. And if you're the founder, or the CEO of a nonprofit, you want to make sure that you have business insurance. And do you have board insurance for your board members? So these things are important. The other thing is for insurance, depending on what kind of work you do you use your car in your work? Did you know that if you are only carrying personal liability on your car and you use your car predominantly for work, and if you had an accident and you had somebody in that car with you, you know, there's a possibility that insurance wouldn't take care of that claim if it was business related, because you're using that car in business and you don't have business insurance because you carry people with you a lot of times. So,
and when COVID-19 happened, I called my insurance agent. Okay, what happens if I have to shut my doors? What can I do? What can my insurance do for me? So we went through all of that on the phone that day. So I knew exactly what I could do and what I couldn't do, and that I was covered. A few weeks before that, another shopping center around here had a fire. Well, you know, So then after I saw that over the weekend, I called my insurance agent. What happens if I have a fire? What am I responsible for? What am I covered for? So I I review those once a year, but if I come across a question, I don't hesitate to call them because I've got to have cyber insurance. I've got to have errors and omission insurance. But I have my agent that I call and ask to see how I'm covered because new things happen or different things happen, and I like to make sure I understand what my policy is going to provide for me.
Absolutely, Sarah. And you know this as well as I instruct all my clients. Every year, you should do a comparison with your insurance agents. Do a review. With all of these key personnel. You want to have a review with them and check those things, especially for you nonprofit. Some of you are working in the industry, whether you're going to places, maybe you're dealing with homeless people, maybe you are working in a sex trafficking area or whatever it is. Make sure you have proper insurance, especially if you have volunteers, you have the proper waivers and documents signed. I mean, we're going to talk about this because, I'm very excited, Sarah, because our next show, we'll talk about this in a minute, on May 19th, is going to be Building a Legacy nonprofit in this new economy. And we've got 8 guest speakers coming on that night. It's going to be phenomenal that we'll talk about that. But I just want to get the people listening tonight to understand in the nonprofit area that how important it is to have a business mentor, person helping you, to have the accountant, the attorney, the bankers, the financial advisors, the insurance agents. And we're going to go into the social media for business. Just about every business today is on social media, whether it be LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. Everybody is using a social media, and to have a relationship, these are things you want to delegate and let the pros do themselves. And they come at all different types of prices and packages, and there's great ones out there. And again, if you want to know of some great social media managers, reach out to me, Celeste, at celestegiordano.com. Got a lot of great social media people. Matter of fact, one of our guest speakers on May 19th is a social media manager that they're going to get an opportunity to meet. But you want to have your presence out there across the board and your brand. It's important. And then a VA or online business manager, I'm a delegator. Delegate. I want to do one thing and one thing only, and that is build relationships and sell. And teach people how to grow their business. And that's what I am best at. I am not going to do the social media stuff. I'm not going to do the bookkeeping stuff. I'm not doing any of that stuff because I am the best at building relationships, involving people, collaboration, camaraderie, and helping people learn, grow, achieve, and prosper so they can leave a legacy. And that's what you need to do. And a lot of people say, well, I can't delegate because I can't afford this or I can't afford that. You can't afford not to delegate. You figure out what that cost is, and then you go add that client so you can pay for that cost right there. Because what takes you hours to do, an expert can do in a matter of minutes.
Oh yeah, because when I first started, I wore every hat, IT, social media, the whole 9 yards, and I would come across an IT problem. It took me 2 hours to fix it, where if I'd called somebody, it probably would have taken 15 minutes, right? And I want to give a shout out to Celeste. When all those COVID-19 things started to happen, well, we had to go from in-person meetings to virtual meetings. Well, she got me hooked up with a lady who was an expert in Zoom, and I took her class. And so it made me much more comfortable because I had to start my Zoom virtual meetings the next day. So I had a go-to person in Celeste to be able to have that hookup and to learn that overnight.
Absolutely.
I want to thank her for that.
Absolutely. And we're looking forward to having Shannon on our call on May 19th. So that's going to be awesome. All right, let's go on to operational items. In running a legacy business, you need to have a business plan. And a business plan is not where a business coach or a mentor is going to do everything for you. You have to do the work. They have the vision, they have the strategies, they have the systems and process to help you, but you have to do the work, and you have to follow a plan consistently. And you have to know what your business plan is with your goals on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. You have to have separate bank accounts. You don't use your personal account into your business account. You don't use your business account into your personal account, because, Sarah, what happens when you mingle the two?
If you commingle the two and the IRS finds out about it, they can take money from you personally and business-wise if you get audited. If you have an accident and you've commingled those funds, you've set yourself up to liability across everything. So you never commingle those funds.
Absolutely. And again, business insurance, there's different types of business insurance, but if you are a business entrepreneur, you're running a direct sales team, you're a corporation, you need to be insurance rich. I used to sell insurance many, many years ago, and I believe in insurance. You need to have your personal insurance, your business insurance, you need to have an umbrella plan, and then you need to have another umbrella plan. And you cannot have enough insurance today, because it's sad. We live in a society that people want to sue, sue, sue.
Yes, we do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like in my business, lawyers, doctors, and accountants need errors and omissions insurance. So if you do get sued, they have to go through that, as opposed to your personal or your business insurance, but your error and insurance.
Absolutely. Proper tax documentation, and that's where a CPA, accountant, bookkeeper can keep you in line, because you want to make sure you have all your proper tax documentations in place, and your entities. And Sarah, I'd love for you just to expand on sole proprietor, LLC, or incorporated, please.
Okay, so you're a sole proprietor. You're not registered with the Secretary of State. You've not gotten an EIN number with the IRS or the U.S. Department of Treasury. You're just out there doing business under your name, right? You've opened yourself up to every liability there is, okay? The next one is a limited liability corporation, an LLC. That you register with the Secretary of State, and you typically get an EIN number from the IRS, so that you have a separate number from your Social Security. Now you've separated yourself here for less liability for if you get sued, an accident, and it just looks a little bit more professional. Okay, you can take an LLC and you can make an S corp or a partnership or those type of things, and that's where you get into the tax side, that you are an S corp or a partnership, and that's how you're taxed. An LLC is one thing for the Secretary of State, and tax-wise is different. So there's that you can do. Then let's just say you in turn incorporate, you become a C corp, right? That's a whole nother tax issue. Again, less liability, because all the liability falls on the C corp. So I like to sit down with people, have those conversations. What are you trying to do? What is your plan for the next 1 year and 5 years? What do you see yourself growing? And that's the type of entity we would pick, right? An LLC, there's no payroll that has to be done. If you're an S corp, the IRS expects you to have payroll. They expect you to be able to cover your family's bills. So depending on how you're starting out, an LLC may be the best in the beginning. And 3 to 5 years later, we change you to an S corp, because you've grown where you're more confident in paying yourself a payroll, right? Instead of paying estimated taxes. So those are just some of the things we would have to look at.
And Sarah, if somebody had some questions, how would they reach out to you for any of these operational items?
So you can reach me at spoe@poecpas.com.
And do you have a phone number?
My phone number is 770-545-8841. And we'd be glad to help you.
Okay. The next one is PPP program, and it's not the PPP program of COVID-19.
Yes.
And this was something when I was in direct sales, it was called the Profit Protection Program. And so what it is as a business entrepreneur, I don't care if you made just $100 profit this week, you take a certain percentage of that and put it into a savings program. And take your gross profit and take a percentage, whether it's 10, 20, whatever you want it to be, 5, you're never going to miss it, and move it to a savings account. At the end of the year, it's amazed what you will be amazed at the amount of money that you have set aside in a year's time that you can reinvest back into your business to grow your business. You can use it to multiply. If you made $100,000 this year, I promise you that if you saved $20,000, that you're going to be able to turn that 100,000 into 2, 3, 4, 500,000 because you were able to save a certain percentage and you can invest it back. A better website, better branding, whatever it is that you may need. Most people are not in the habit of setting it aside. They say, well, it's just a small amount. Well, it's the little amount that equals up to the large amount. If we start small and you do it consistently every single week, at the end of 52 weeks, you'll surprise yourself of how much money you'll set aside. Workman's compensation insurance, it's important that we have to have these things. There's audits. Again, Sarah can talk about that. Please feel free to reach out to her. Reinvest your cash back into the business in your first year. Really, every year you should reinvest a certain amount of money back into your business. Collect and pay sales tax on a timely basis if your business requires you to collect and pay it, because the last thing that you want is to have the sales and tax people coming on, knocking on your door.
And that is not a fun thing to go through. A sales tax audit is not fun because they're going to find something. I promise you that.
Absolutely. The next page that we're going to go to is, in order to learn, grow, achieve, prosper, so you can achieve your goals, you need to set goals for the week and the month, track your numbers, have constant communication with a business coach mentor, minimum 2 times, 4 times a month, attend mastermind events. And if you're interested in joining a mastermind, again, reach out to me, Celeste Giordano, at celestegiordano.com. You can email me at celeste@celestegiordano.com, or you can call me at 888-692-6170. And then I have a gift for everybody here today. And my gift to those that are in attendance here today on the next slide is that you can crack your bank code at www.mybankcode.com, Giordano. What that will do is that will give you like a 26-page report about your code, of whether you're a blueprint, your action, nurturing, or knowledge. And it'll help you in your conversations with how to have conversations and close more sales. And I'll also give you a complimentary 30-minute discovery phone call. And hopefully you'll take a picture of this, and you can reach out to me at celestegiordano.com, 888-692-6170. Sarah, from this presentation, I'd love for you to talk about the COVID-19 and what's going on with the taxes, what people need to know that haven't filed their taxes, the deadline, the stimulus checks, the SBA, PPP, all that stuff. Why don't you share that with us, please?
Oh, hi. Again, I am Sarah Poe with Poe's Accounting Services. My email is spoe@poecpas.com, and my number is 770-545-8841. And I'd be glad to answer any of your questions either by email or phone call. So in the last few weeks, we've had an event unlike anything we've ever experienced before. My tax season's supposed to be over with by now. I was supposed to be on a cruise this week because I always go somewhere after tax season. Well, guess what? It is still tax season. Your taxes are now due July 15th. Your first and second quarterly payments are due July 15th. If you need to file an extension, you need to file it by July 15th. So July 15th is now our new magical date here in the tax world. We need to make sure that we've got that on our calendars. With my clients, I'm trying to still every week. I'm not seeing as many people as I would normally during the tax season, but I'm trying to see 10 to 15 people a week, making sure that I've asked them all the questions regarding their 18 and 19, that both of those are filed. We are looking to see if their stimulus check is better with their 18 tax return or their 19 tax return. Do we need to file the direct deposit information because they've always owed and never got anything back? So the government doesn't have the direct deposit information. So there's called Get My Payment out there on the IRS.gov that you can go to and put that information in there. I will tell you, it was a little bit of a disaster the first couple of weeks because it had to be fixed. There was flaws to it. Many of my people got, "You're not recognized." Well, that'll kind of freak you out if you get that from the IRS, that you're not recognized and you've been filing taxes the majority of your life. So they did get that worked out, and now it's much easier to fill out the information. And you do have to prove who you are. You can't just be anybody. You have to give them certain information to prove who you are before you can put that information in.
Sarah, can you share what kind of information do you have to provide them?
You have to provide birth date, address, and the address is on your tax return. Now, if you move, you've got to make sure you've got the correct address and your adjusted gross income from either your 18 or your 19 tax return. So that way they've got something to go back and verify that the person who's putting in the information is putting it in correctly, so that people can't go in there and just put in their information for your stimulus check, right? They don't want that to happen. So they're trying to verify the best they can. Go ahead.
So, but also when you, those that owe money and pay, and they're not in that system for direct deposit, they still have an opportunity that their check will just come by snail mail, right?
That's correct. And they met the first person I came across that actually check was mailed. It was actually mailed last Friday. So they are actually mailing checks earlier than we thought they would. We didn't think they would start mailing checks for 6 to 8 weeks. So we're a little bit ahead of that schedule, which is good. And also, if you receive Social Security and you don't have any children, you don't need to tell them anything, because now they've already got your direct deposit information, because that's how they deposit either your VA benefits or your Social Security. The only time you would need to tell them anything different is if you had children under 17 at home, because you got an additional $500 for each one of them.
Well, also, and I saw this today, Sarah, where it was on the news where it said, I guess if the young adults 18 to 23 did not get a stimulus check, as well as they either maybe are claimed on their parents' thing where the parents got it, maybe they're students or whatever, but for whatever reason, I don't even think that the parents had to claim them, that if they were 18 to 23 and they were working, that some people didn't get stimulus checks or weren't getting them at that age, from that age group.
That is correct. That is a segment of the generation or the people who kind of got overlooked, right? If you're 17 to about 26, right? That segment of the population got overlooked. So, like, let's just say that I had a child who was 18. They were my dependent, but they still filed their tax return. They wouldn't get anything. Let's just say I had a child who was 18, but filed their own taxes and were no longer my dependent. Then they would get their $1,200. So there's a couple things going on there. I had people this year who decided not to claim their kids so their kids could get the $1,200. But that's when you're doing your taxes, you need to look at all those things. What's the best way for your family? Maybe it's more important that your child get the $1,200 than you get the $500. So that's one of the things that we look at. We look at the whole picture when we're doing your taxes.
Right.
The stimulus check is one way. Now, I have heard rumblings in Congress that they are going to go back for that forgotten population and do something for them. It may not be 1,200. We don't actually know, but there's rumblings that they will go back and do something for them. Congress did come back, I believe, this week. So that's something that should be on the horizon that we should see if they're going to do that for them. I suspect they will, but we just don't know for sure. So that's the stimulus check. So if you're not sure, if you haven't received it, you can go get my payment and put in your information, and it will tell you if it's mailed, direct deposit, that sort of thing. If you haven't filed your 18 or 19, you're not going to get it, but you can reconcile it on your 20 return. Let's just say I have an individual who didn't get caught up in time to get all their taxes caught up in time to get that stimulus payment. So when we do their 20 return, that's going to be part of that return. Did you receive the money? How much did you receive? If they overpaid you, good for you. You don't have to pay it back. But let's just say you didn't receive that money. That will be a reconciling item on your tax return that will be part of your refund for that year. Okay. So there is that good news for people who can't get caught up in time for that payment to come into them. The whole reason for doing it was to put money in people's pocket as soon as possible.
All right. What about the SBA? Are they still taking applications on that right now, Sarah?
The Paycheck Protection Program, yes, they are still doing that. And that's the one you have to go through a bank to do. I would recommend, if you've got a good relationship with a bank, that's who you do it through. I had a gentleman that I helped out with he banked with Chase. He didn't make it through the first round. Unfortunately, most small businesses didn't make it through the first round, and we all know the reason why for that. But he came in here that Saturday before they reopened it up. We fixed his loan application. He was approved last Thursday, had his money on Monday. And that was through Chase. Okay. Now you can also do it through PayPal. You can do it through Intuit. So there's a lot of other people this time around who you can do it. If you've got a credit union you bank with, that's a great place to go do this. The smaller banks are getting more completed for the smaller business. The application it's the same application, but it's done differently in different organizations. Like I went to one credit union, you had to fill it out and fax it to them. I went to another credit union where they had made it through their website. So it was all electronic. So it just, if it's not all electronic, don't worry about that. That doesn't mean it won't be approved. It just means that bank didn't have the time to get it integrated into their system, right? That doesn't mean anything bad or good. So if you haven't done that, I've got a client coming in tomorrow. We're going to shore hers up tomorrow. She's got a couple questions they've asked, and they will come back and ask questions. In the beginning, they told us that if you didn't fill it out right, too bad, so sad. But that's not the case. So they will come back with questions that you need to answer, maybe upload some more additional information. Like today, I had to upload a copy of a driver's license, but it had to be in color because it was easier to read. We uploaded one, it was in black and white, and it wasn't as readable. So you just never know what they might ask. You just do it and do it quicker and don't wait.
All right, so let me ask you something. So for the business entrepreneur, Sarah, what is available through SBA? Is there anything that SBA can do for business entrepreneurs other than the paycheck protection?
Well, at one point they had the EIDL 10K, but they haven't given out all the money for that, so they've stopped taking applications on that. There's bridge loans through the SBA that you can do that are up to like $25,000. And if you have ever had a loan through the SBA, you can go back in and ask for additional money without having to go through that whole process again. Most of us who are in this industry understand that the SBA is one of the hardest people to get loans from. It's a long process and they check everything out. So if you've already had one loan from them, it's a quick and easy way to get additional money if you need it.
But if you've never had a loan with them, what are the odds?
Well, with the PPP, the payroll protection thing, it's gone a lot better this time around. I've only helped a couple people with the bridge loan, and we haven't gotten any answers back on that part yet.
So the PPP is through the SBA?
It's through the SBA, but you have to go through a lender who approves the application before it's sent to the SBA.
All right, that's what I thought, because I had talked to somebody, and the SBA, it is through SBA, but in order to apply for it, you go through the bank, correct?
Correct. Okay. And I will tell you this, if you get the PPP, you want a separate bank account for that. You need to use that money for the things that it was originally assigned for. Like if you get the PPP, you need to spend 75% of that money in the next 8 weeks on payroll, because you can be audited if you're not using that money properly. And then you've got to pay all that money back plus interest. And the best way to do that is in a separate bank account, so that if you ever get audited, it's all in one transaction. It's all in one bank.
Exactly.
You're not having to jump through hoops to do all that. Let's just say I get $20,000. I step it up, I put it in my separate account. So for the next 8 weeks, I'm paying payroll right out of that. I've got my invoices, I've got what I paid and how I paid in a separate book, file folder, whatever it is. So if they ever come to me and want to see that paperwork, it's all in one place. I've made it super easy for them. They're not having to chase things down. They are extremely happy, because if you get an audit, you want them to be happy. You want to make it as easy as possible. And, we don't really know how they're going to do small businesses. We do know that the Treasury's come out and said, if you took money from the PPP and you were one of these big conglomerates, a Ruth Chris or those people, you would more than likely be audited on how you use that money. So you don't want to be stuck in that position. You want to be prepared.
Now, are there any other programs out there, Sarah, for the business entrepreneur or the small, medium-sized corporations that they can be doing right now or applying for?
The PPP is really the biggest one. I have seen one in different areas of the different areas of Georgia. In this area, it's not being used, but it's being like these smaller counties. They're putting up money for their own small businesses to get loans through. Typically, they're $5,000 to $10,000, but you contact your county government, and they have made loans for their small businesses in those areas that they're giving out money. You don't know if you don't check, right? In the Atlanta in this area, there's not those type of loans out there. So there's not as many opportunities for small businesses in these areas to get that type of money. There's like a Farmers Bureau would have money that they would lend out to farmers in that area, to agriculture, because agriculture's been hit big. You hear of all the meat shortages. How do you think that came about? They didn't have workers to do that. Your butter, your pecans are being harvested, or your cotton, whatever that could be. There's shortages, one, because of the weather, or sickness because people couldn't work.
Right. Okay.
So there's those type of areas. Go to those people and say, hey, go to the Farmers Bureau and say, I need some cash. How can I get it? You never know if you don't ask.
That's absolutely. The answer is always going to be no if you don't ask.
That's right.
So what about for taxes for people right now? I know some people went in there and, the early people, January, February or whatever, and that when this thing hit in March or whatever. So what else do we need to know about taxes for anybody? I've already filed ours, but we have. So what else do we need to share with our customers here?
All right. So let's just say I had quite a few people come in the first part of the year who did their taxes, filed their taxes and all that. then when I'm sorry, something caught my eye and lost my train of thought. So you had the chance to move the date that your taxes were due. Let's just say you came in here on March 30 or 23rd. We did your taxes. We set up your payment to be paid by April 15th. Then all this happened. Now your payment's not due to January 15th. You can call the person who filed your taxes and have that payment moved out to January 15th. Because if it was me, I don't want to give up that money yet. I want to keep that money in my bank account because I don't know what's going to happen between April 15th and July 15th. I want to know that if I need an extra $1,000 or I didn't save enough in my PP plan that Celeste tried to get me to do, I didn't have enough savings to survive during this time. I've got something in another bank account to help me through that time. So you call me, we get your payment extended to July 15th, and then you're not worrying about it for 2 months. You're not worrying how you're going to put food on the table, or you're not worrying about how you're making that car payment or the house note or those type of things because you didn't spend that money on your taxes. You held off. So that's one way that we can help you during that time. We also can help you by looking at your 18 and your 19 taxes to see which is the best one to submit so that you're paying the least amount of money. Quite a few things changed. Net operating losses at one time. Before this happened, you couldn't do a net operating loss. It could only be carried forward. Well, with this new law, I can now go back with a net operating loss. So let's just say I had a client who sold his business in 18 for $1 million. Well, you can only imagine what the taxes are on that. Then in 19, he comes along and has a catastrophic event and lost $200,000 or $300,000. Well, now I can take that loss backwards and maybe give him back $50,000 of what he paid the previous year in taxes. So that's a new opportunity for us that we didn't have a month and a half ago. That was one of the things they did. They've changed it so that starting in 2020, you'll be able to take $300 worth of donations on the front part of your 1040. You don't have to wait till your Schedule A to do that anymore. You can not take out of your retirement this year and not be penalized for that. You can take out of your retirement and not be penalized for that because you had an exception for that. You needed to pay your taxes. You needed to survive. So there's different things out there that the IRS has done to help you stay in business and to help you with a roof over your head. There's several different things, and they're not all the same. Some go forward, some go backwards, and some are now. You just need to have that conversation with that person to see which is the right one for you.
Absolutely. Sarah, what are some of the things that for as small, medium-sized business entrepreneurs or corporations, what are some of the key issues that they're having to stay afloat right now?
They don't have any extra cash. There's no money to be had. Your hard money lenders are holding onto their cash. The banks are holding onto their cash. The money is not accessible at the moment, right? So if you were one of the ones that we had talked about, you set cash aside for a rainy day, you're not struggling as bad right now. If you had done, I think Celeste wanted you to do a PPP program, right? But what she was looking for was entertainment or vacations. What if you had that PPP program because she said it was a good idea, but now we went through COVID-19, you got $5,000 to help you make it through a rough time period that you would not have had. So there's all different ways to use that cash that you saved during the year.
Absolutely, Sarah. And the thing of it is they should have a conversation with, first and foremost, with their CPA, bookkeeper, accountant. And hopefully their CPA, bookkeeper, accountant like yourself has access to people that are business mentors and strategists that can help them come out of the situation. with being creative and some different things. A lot of people are able to survive this, and there's some people that are struggling. So we're talking to a wide variety of people, but we have to be creative. We hear think outside of the box. Well, you need to think that there is no box. And there are different things that you can be doing to be creative in your business. And we know a couple of business entrepreneurs that did some things that were, you think about the people in the event and catering business and stuff like that, and then they shift their gears, and weddings canceled and things of this nature, and then they're going into home delivery meals, and we have the restaurants with curbside service, and restaurants some of them are open, but it doesn't make sense for them to open with the spacing and all the things they have to do just to continue curbside service. But there are a lot of things that you can do strategically, and it's good to reach out to a business mentor or a master sales strategist or a CPA and have that conversation, and to offer that, even offer a complimentary thing, just like any of my clients know. If I talk to a potential client, I say, here, you call Sarah Poe. Tell Sarah Celeste said have a conversation with you, because you want to help serve people in this area, and sometimes they just need to share those things, and there's other people that can help them. That's for sure. As we're getting ready to wind this up, Sarah, is there any other last things that you want to share about what's going on with the IRS or the state or anything for our?
The Internal Revenue Service is still not really open yet. They did bring in some people to open up the mail because no mail had been opened up until Friday of last week. So if you mailed anything in, it's just been sitting there, right? Nothing has happened to it. If you fax something in, nothing has happened to it. We have a special line that we can call if we have questions or we need to get information. I called that first Monday after the stay-at-home order. I got a message I thought I'd never hear. The IRS is closed until further notice. Never in my life would I've ever thought I heard that, right? So I was thinking, oh, wow, I could get some at the IRS, could get some of my questions answered. Well, my questions have just doubled in that time frame, right? But luckily, I've learned good mentors along the way. What if it's be through Facebook networking, or what if it's been through networking at conventions and that sort of thing that I had the confidence in to get in touch with when life turned upside down. When I had to do this in 24 hours, I had the people in my life to help me get that done. And that's what Celeste and I really want to do for you more than anything, to be there to help you, to help, just to have a servant's heart, right? Help other people.
Absolutely. And we're going to have an online Zoom workshop, and we'll let you know. Penny will know about this, as well as the WCEG radio. Sarah, do me a favor and tell us the name of your company and how people can get a hold of you again, please, and any social media links.
Okay. I am Sarah Poe with Poe's Accounting Services. My website is poecpas.com. So then my email is spoe@poecpas.com. My phone number is 770-545-8841. Again, I would be thrilled to talk with any of you by by email, by text, whatever is that you're the most comfortable with. I'd be happy to have a half an hour call with all of you to answer any of those questions you'd like to have or that you do have, so that we may have a 20-minute phone call and I may have answered all your questions and you walk away and go, okay, I'm good, right? But I want to be here to help you in any way I can. And without that conversation, I can't do it.
Absolutely. And I encourage you to reach out to Sarah for that complimentary call. My website is www.celestegiordano.com. That's CelesteGiordano.com. My email is Celeste, at celestegiordano.com. My phone number is 888-692-6170. And again, I encourage you to have a complimentary Crack Your Code at www.mybankcode.com/Giordano, and make sure you include the /Giordano and get your 26-page report on your personality and how to increase your sales. Also, Sarah and I are coming back on May 19th. Same time from 5 to 7. It's Tuesday, May 19th, and it's called Building Your Legacy Nonprofit in This New Economy. And Sarah and I are very excited to host special expert business panel. Sarah and I will have Joan Williams with Williams & Associate that's going to talk to us about our health and nutrition. And you're saying, what does that have to do with a nonprofit? Has everything to do, because we're always burning the candle at many ends, and we have to take care of our health. We're going to have Deborah Fawaz with DD Faces, who is an image consultant. And you're probably saying, what does that have to do with a nonprofit? Well, your image has everything to do with your nonprofit. So Deborah's going to give us some tips about our nonprofit. We have Linda Gober with LDG Accounting Services. Linda's going to give us 10 action points on accounting and why we want to have an accountant and have some accounting practices. We're going to have Christine Martinello with the Original Love Box founder and how you can utilize the Original Love Box when writing love notes to, whether it be personally for your family, your colleagues, how you can use it for your nonprofit, because many nonprofits are serving the homeless, you're serving the sex trafficking area, you're serving mothers and children, and Christine's going to show us how we can utilize the Original Love Box in our nonprofits and serving the community. We're going to have Maureen Cornwall with Home of Hope. She's the executive director. And Sarah and I have a nonprofit called the Women of Community Impact. We've been serving Home of Hope for many years. As a matter of fact, tonight on Cinco de Mayo, we have engaged an entire community in delivering a Mother's Day Cinco de Mayo dinner to the mothers and children at Home of Hope. And Maureen is excellent about grant writing, about picking your board, and we're going to have a conversation with her. And then we're going to have Shannon Danistay, 5-Star Social Media, and going to talk to us about how to use social media properly for our nonprofit. So we encourage you to come back on May 19th from 5 to 7. We're going to have 8 expert business panels. And again, Sarah and I cannot thank WCEG Network Talk Radio for hosting this tonight for us. And again, go to WCEGTalkRadio.com. You can go to the YouTube, WCEG Network. Make sure you like them on their social media. This was recorded live. And Penny, we thank you, your board, your staff, for giving us this opportunity to serve your community. And we look forward to being here month in and month out, giving business tips, tax tips on how to build a legacy business. Have a wonderful and blessed evening. Sarah, thank you for your host, for being a co-host, and any last comment?
It was a pleasure to be here with you tonight, as always. I always learn something new, always.
Absolutely. We love you. If you have any questions, just reach out to us. Again, have a blessed evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.